What's going on, everybody? Another hunt camp coming at you, and this week's hunt camp is from the great state of Oklahoma. Now, we did a lot of fun stuff. I did another hunt camp on Oklahoma because we got a ton of footage, a ton of kills even. Not really a ton, but a handful of kills. And it would have made for a great show, but we just really didn't have enough content to make a full show. And like I said in the last one, but one of the interesting things that happened in Oklahoma is on the last evening, I ended up shooting a doe, but I passed on a couple bucks that came in. They just weren't quite big enough for what we were looking for on that particular trip. But then a doe was hanging out before. I think it was actually earlier in the evening. A doe got out there all by her lonesome. And I say she was all by her lonesome. Might have been another doe with her. Doesn't really matter in the story. She's standing out there, and it's time to shoot something. We hadn't killed a deer. We shot some hogs, but we hadn't killed a deer. But I think one other deer all week. We shot a doe earlier in the week. And these deer in Oklahoma duck like unbelievable. A lot of deer in Texas, smaller frame, skittish, for whatever reason, they seem to react a whole lot to the bow going off. And my bow's really quiet, and still they react quite a bit. This doe, however, she was out there at 30 yards. Well, I ranged her and put my rangefinder away, waiting for a shot opportunity. Finally, she starts to look like she's going to give me a shot opportunity, but she moves out, in my estimation, couldn't have been more than 1 or 2 yards. Well, it ended up being she was standing at 36 yards. And this is interesting for you bow hunters because I ended up shooting this deer for what I thought was 31 yards. She was standing at 35 yards, and I shoot a 520 grain arrow out of a 70-pound bow. So I got a little more fall than a guy that's shooting a super duper light arrow, and I need to know my distances pretty exact. And I estimated this deer at just over 30 yards, and I shoot it. It's actually 36 yards. And so if this deer hadn't reacted, I would have clean missed. If you watch this arrow, it would have been a clean miss. This deer reacted so bad that she ducks all the way into a heart shot. And I absolutely smoked this deer, having nothing to do with anything I did other than aim a little too low. So it's pretty amazing because that's a weird game whitetail hunters have to play. You don't ever want to aim to miss. In other words, even if you know the deer's jacked up and cagey, you don't ever want to aim to miss because they might freeze and then you've missed completely. But I've also seen deer in Virginia as well duck so much that they completely got out of the way of the arrow where their belly almost touched the ground. So you just never can tell. In this particular case, me not accurately judging the range is what killed this deer. You know, if I'd have shot at her for a 36-yard shot, it would have gone right over her back. But I shot at her for 30 and it smoked her. So just something interesting that happened along the way.